A lone dingo won't risk its mother's powerful kick. Despite a rough and tumble start to life, the foal struggles to its feet. The gangly legs he is born with will remain the same length throughout his life. This is a species born to run. His senses too are already acute. He becomes acquainted with his mother's scent and seeks out his first meal. Within the first hours of its life, a newborn foal is able to run, safe in the company of the herd, even from the hungry dingo pack. They prefer to hunt the grey kangaroos. Stimulated by the flourish of fresh grass, the roos are also in reproductive overdrive. While the horse's breeding is cyclical, the roos breed in response to available pastures. Males lean back on their strong tails, using them as a stabilizer, kickboxing with their hind legs and grappling with their front paws. Males compete for mating rights in these boxing bouts. Most fights are between equally sized males, honing their technique for future, more serious bouts, challenging the alpha male for the top position. Kangaroos are marsupials. They give birth to a pea-sized joey, which crawls up into the pouch where the remainder of its development takes place. When grass is plentiful and nutritious, kangaroos can put their breeding into overdrive. Very quickly, they can have a newborn attached to one teat, consuming of fat-rich milk, a young at foot suckling its own low-fat formula from the other nipple, and a newly conceived embryo waiting for space in the pouch to become available. They never stray far from the pouch, with dingoes stalking the hills. The pack is gathering for a hunt, and the roos are in their sights. A wedge-tailed eagle surveys the dingo's spoils. Although they're full, the pack is in no mood to share its meal with this winged hunter. the eagle looks for its own prey. While it would struggle to take down an adult kangaroo, the eagle routinely targets joeys. Slower and smaller, the rabbit is the easier kill. Like horses, rabbits are relatively recent arrivals to Australia. Numbers swell in the good times, providing a constant source of food for the eagles and dingoes. With easy prey around, foals are not on any predator's menu. Along with well-watered pastures and short winters, the lack of predators has enabled the horses to thrive here in the mountains. These wild horses are fast, highly mobile, and built to navigate the rugged slopes of the Alps. They descend from sturdy farm horses. Horses were first introduced into Australia in 1788 and used for farming and transport. With increasing mechanisation, horses were no longer needed. The farm gates were opened and the horses were freed to fend for themselves. The weaker animals were weeded out by natural selection, and the hardier individuals bred the resilient horses that roam the mountains today. But Australia's wild horses are not universally appreciated. Their persistent grazing and hard hooves damage the fragile alpine ecosystem and the endemic species that have long occupied these landscapes. These alpine meadows evolved without ever having been trod upon by heavy, hard-hooved mammals. The alpine bogs support delicate sphagnum moss that holds moisture all year round, as much as 10 to 20 times their dry weight. And within these islands of moisture, one of the world's rarest amphibians clings to its existence. Less than 3 centimeters long, the corroboree frogs are only found above the tree line in the Alps. The frog generates its own toxic skin secretion to ward off predators. But it's defenseless against habitat destruction. At night, another rare alpine creature at risk from the horse's hooves emerges. In spring, the mountain pygmy possum gorges on seeds and berries, But for the coldest 6 months of the year, it hibernates, the only marsupial to truly do so. Should the blanket of snow that insulates the warm air beneath be penetrated by hooves, the delicate possum is unable to survive the cold. Above the tree line in the alpine zone, plant life has but a brief flowering season. They carpet hilltops with an explosion of blooms. With only 4 months of suitable warmth a year, the flourish is fleeting. This delicate collection of life forms can't cope with the heavy tread and large appetites of the horses. The threat they pose to these and other unique Australian environments stirs a controversial crusade to drive the horses from the mountains altogether. In such inaccessible terrain, the most effective way to control wild horse numbers is from the air. Hundreds are shot every year, to much public outcry from horse lovers. These wild horses, known locally as brumbies, don't just roam the landscapes of Australia. They run free in many Australians' imaginations. Their lives romanticised by writers and poets. This season's foals are now 1 month old, and their mothers are ready to breed again. Males pester females for the right to mate. The lead stallion has been all the mare's preferred partner for 4 years. But his reign is constantly being tested by subordinate males. Deposed stallions and young colts form bachelor bands, like this one, lingering close to the breeding herd. Every so often, a bachelor male tries his chances. The lead stallion drives them off when he can. But they are many, and the mares are interested. This aspiring young Casanova takes advantage of the dominant male's attention being elsewhere. Ultimately, it's the female who makes the choice. This mare selects the opportunistic bachelor. She may even run off to mate with him for a few days and then return to the herd. The dominant mare's foal is the progeny of one of those matings. In this way, the females control the genetic diversity in their bands and reduce the risk of inbreeding. Horses use scent for their most important social networking. The smell of the female's urine reveals her reproductive readiness and status. The dung and urine of the males communicates dominance and marks out the home range. Horses curl their lips and flare their nostrils, behaviour known as phlegmon, to inhale more scent particles deep into their nasal passages, where millions of fine hairs analyse chemical scent. In a vast wooded environment where the band's paths rarely cross, the scent of dung and urine reveals details of social status, gender, readiness to mate, and even establishes the individual's identity. As summer progresses, the Alps explode with life. Some 2,000 million bogong moths stream into the highlands, escaping the fierce summer heat of the plains to seek refuge in the cool crevices of the granite boulders. Every year they embark on a summer migration from their birthplace thousands of kilometres further north, flying up to 2 kilometres high. Up to 15,000 moths per square metre will pack themselves on the walls of caves. The moths come here not to breed or feed, but simply to rest, returning to the plains in the summer. The moths' oil-laden bodies are a rich temporary food source for mountain pygmy possums. With water and grass plentiful, the horses range far and wide across the mountains. It's an opportunity to assess the status of the neighbouring bands and make a new deposit on strategically placed stallion dung piles. These pungent signposts are placed in the open for passers-by to interpret. They're not just digested grass, but contain a complex mix of volatile hormones and may even guide newcomers to a water source. Curious, the dominant mare's foal stops to investigate. A distraction that sees him momentarily separated from the herd and his mother. While their calls help them relocate each other, their smell affirms their bond. In travelling these great distances, they create compacted tracks on their regular routes. Their hard hooves dig into the thin layer of vegetation that holds the topsoil in place, causing erosion in the gullies and around watering holes. And their manure can foul pristine streams. When summer temperatures soar, horses need to drink at least 30 litres a day, and lactating mares perhaps twice that much. The foals that are still suckling need to drink less water and can laze away the hours in the sun. Locating reliable watering holes is critical. It's knowledge often held by the dominant mare. She paws at the water, testing the depth and substrate, and cooling off in the process. Pouring stirs up minerals from the stream bottom, mixing it with the water they drink, replacing vital trace elements missing from the alpine grasses. The effects of stirring up and fouling waterholes and wetlands has consequences far beyond the Alps themselves. Not only does alpine vegetation hold and release water, it filters it and regulates a steady flow throughout the year. Platypus nest in burrows where the entrance is underwater, but the burrow proper is above the waterline. Floods can drown adults and their young, and the turbulence affects their food supply of small crustaceans. The Ricali too makes its home and feeds in streams fed and filtered by the alpine wetlands. Australia is the driest inhabited continent on Earth, which is why having a regular and reliable supply of quality water is essential for the survival of its inhabitants. Horses are heavy animals, far heavier and hard-hooved than any other living thing in the mountains. To protect waterways, grazing cattle were removed from the Alps in the 1950s, but the horses remained, defended by those charmed by their presence. While the grey kangaroos nibble efficiently on the blades of alpine grass, horses rip up the grasses, roots and all. The horses need to graze for some 11 to 15 hours a day to consume the 1.5% of their body weight needed to remain healthy. They're also highly selective, leaving unpalatable grass species and effectively changing the vegetation structure of the alpine meadows they graze. Compared to horses, grey kangaroos are much more efficient at digesting Australia's low-nutrient grasses. The roos extract more energy and trace elements from what is available, while the horses are in a constant search for rarer, high-nutrient fodder. Female roos with young at foot don't travel far until their young are strong enough to keep up with the mob. Big male roos range further afield to find enough suitable pastures to sustain their larger body size. Just as kangaroos and other native wildlife are adapted to thrive on local vegetation, so the alpine plants cope with hot days and drying summer winds. Leaves are often small, thick and leathery, or rolled. Hairs on the leaves minimise evaporation by restricting air circulation across the surface. But the greatest summer threat to the Australian bush and its inhabitants is fire. In 2002, lightning strike during a drought set off 114 small fires here in the high country, causing a massive conflagration that consumed the hillsides. Bushfire is an inevitable force in this Australian landscape. The corroboree frogs in their moist enclaves are relatively safe, as are the pygmy possums above the tree line within their maze of granite boulders. The hardy echidna digs itself deep into the moist soil. A wombat retreats to the cool of its deep burrow, where it's safe from the fire and the scorching heat. With the fire front advancing from all directions, and with nowhere to hide, thousands of horses became trapped, and half the population perished. In the aftermath of summer fires, recovery is surprisingly swift. The echidna can resurrect itself from its fireproof tomb and get straight back to foraging for ants and termites that also survive underground. The wombat too can return to browsing, relying on subterranean roots until grass shoots appear. And just as the landscape recovers from the scorching, winter creeps in. As temperatures drop on the mountain peaks, the locals soak up the last of the warm rays. Skinks flatten their bodies to maximize the surface area for sunbaking. The red-bellied blacksnakes feast on what they can find around the streams. As the days shorten, they are most active in the mornings, shuttling between sunny and shady spots. They're able to move heat around different parts of their body as needed. Their rate of heating up in the morning is more rapid than the rate of cooling in the evening, enabling them to remain active for as long as possible. Eventually, when the temperatures are too cold for any activity, they retreat to a state of dormancy for the winter. By the time the first snowstorms arrive, all the snakes, corroboree frogs, and pygmy possums are dormant. And only the hardy dingo, wombat, and echidna can be seen out braving the elements. While these smaller mammals can seek shelter in hollows and dens when conditions are extreme, the horses are forced to endure even the most severe conditions in the open. But they evolved in the grasslands of Eurasia, where winters are often colder than this. As the days shorten, their coats grow longer and thicker. Less daylight causes the horse's body to produce more of the hormone melatonin, which stimulates coat growth. The horses are well equipped to dig through the snow. Most of Australia's eucalypt trees are adapted to survive heat and drought. These hardy snow gums have flexible branches able to bend under the weight of the snow rather than snap. They can withstand temperatures as low as -5 degrees and reduce their optimum temperature for photosynthesis during the winter months. While the horses stay higher up the mountains for the start of winter, the kangaroos retreat to the valleys below, where grasses are still accessible. Eventually, hunger forces the horses to leave the high Alps and retreat below the snow line.